Let's fall together! Come and dance with me in hell, won't you?
So to start off here, we are going to remove the 4 screws in the back to remove the back plate and the GPU from the heatsink. So here you can see that the back is actually now removed from the fans, but it's still connected by those little cables there. Some of the cables control the fans and the other ones will control the RGB. It is a bit of a tight fit, but you just gotta disconnect them. You don't want to pull them by the wires though and risk ripping the wires out from the header there. So yeah, you just gotta fit your hands in there and disconnect them. Here you can see that we got the fan off here, and so you can now see the little GPU core, and there's a couple other cables there, and there's just a bit of thermal paste that we're going to clean off right as soon as we unplug the cables here. Before we go on to remove the thermal paste, you can see there's a few screws there. We're just going to remove all the screws to remove the back plate from the circuit board there. Once I got all the screws out, I had a little bit of issues trying to disconnect the back plate from the circuit board there. So after doing a little looking, I realized that it was just held on by this little sticky pad here. And I just had to dig in there and just kind of peel it off. So we're good now. So now what we do is we remove the fans off the heatsink here. There's just a couple screws underneath the fans that you have to just disconnect. You don't want to paint over the fans because it might mess with the bearings inside the fans and ruin the fans themselves. So you just want to disconnect them and paint the faceplate separately. Now for the stock Wraith cooler, you just have to disconnect it from there. It just pops off. And then you got the outer ring and you can just paint that. So now what we like to do, or I like to do, is when it's something like this, where it feels like more like metallic-y, plasticky, and not painted on, I like to give it like a little sand, scuff it up a bit. It helps the paint stick to it better. You'll see other people do it as well. Over painted, like previously painted things, I don't do it on because like it's already a painted material. Like you don't scuff up your walls after you paint the first layer of paint on it. You're just putting another layer on top of it. But something like this, I like to scuff up a bit. There we go. Now the paint should adhere to this nicely. Make sure it's all brushed off. You don't want any dust on top of it. Any dust, when that dust flakes, it'll bring the paint up with it as well. You can see it's like, not scratched, but it's scuffed. There's no gouges in it. This will all be covered up nicely after. So here to start, we do a nice light layer on the front side, just to get it started. Once it's fully covered, we just got to give it some time to dry. After giving it a bunch of time to dry, we go in for the second coat here to make sure it's all nicely coated. We got a nice even coat of purple all around. After giving it some time to dry, we have now flipped it over to do the back side just because some of the ridges will still be visible. So So we're just gonna quickly hit that and then we're good to go to assemble. So after one coat on the bottom and then two coat on the face side here, I have it out just drying. The other side is not painted, so it doesn't really matter. And then the inner ring of this doesn't matter as well, so I just put it on. And then I have this sort of lifted up here in a spot that wasn't painted in the middle, just so it can dry. Nothing that was like wet and gonna dry overnight making contact with anything. So right now, I got everything pretty much cleaned up and dried. So I'm gonna try putting it back together. I think one of the things I'm gonna have to do though is I'm gonna have to remove the fans from the other side just to be able to fit these back on. Which isn't like the end of the world. It's just a little bit difficult to like fit it back on when there's the fans in the way and you gotta try and line the holes up together. Even just getting these off is gonna be a challenge. Like trying to fit this over top of these. Like that's not happening very easily. Or yeah, that's just, it's just stubborn. Oh, wait, there's one. And there we go. That was actually so much easier than I thought it was gonna be. Okay. And it's lined up with the holes, perfect. Ooh, my little box of screws tipped over there. On there nice and secured. Now what I'm gonna do is grab this one and I'm just gonna put the thermal paste. I'm gonna go like this so it doesn't rub up against the little thermal pad on the bottom here. I'm gonna grab my thermal paste, put it right here. My little spatula. You guys might not even be able to see the thing yet. So I'll just move it over like this. I'll put a little drop right here in the middle. Get the excess off like that. There we go. I'm gonna use my little spatula here. I'm just gonna spread it out. I'm gonna put a little bit more on. You never want to just overdo it, you know? But you want to make sure it's all fully covered. So after I repaste it, I try to put it back together and I accidentally forget to put the back plate on first. As soon as I finish, I catch myself and I'm like, ah. The second I finish, I realize I did it wrong. Okay, now we're in the final bit here. I just gotta lay this on the right way. This little curve here is where the power is. So that one goes right there. And I think I definitely did this backwards. I'm supposed to do this before I already attached the board to it. Fuck. And it's done. Ooh. This looks pretty clean. I didn't cover that up there because that's RGB and stuff. So when it's on there, it'll say MSI and it'll light up all through that thing there. And then the fans, it'll match the fans look. Ooh. I think that looks really sick. And then here's the cooler that goes with it. So we got the matching theme there. This will be sick. So here's what the finished product looks like.